So it looks like Hollywood seems to have protected yet another predatory, violent abuser with a decades long history of physical and sexual attacks against men, women, and teens, who's being accused of things like human trafficking and racketeering, to name a few, known for hosting drug fueled sex parties and recording these vile interactions for his own pleasure. Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. I do appreciate you clicking on the video to watch it. And since you are here, I would love it if you would help me to grow this channel and hit that subscribe button now. And also make sure that your notifications are turned on so that you never miss an upload or a live stream. And of course, to those of you that are returning, you know how much I truly appreciate you. And I would love it if you would make sure that you are subscribed as well. So I'm sure many of you have heard by now that famous rapper, record producer, and record executive Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, Puff Daddy, and P. Diddy, is being accused of pretty much every egregious, despicable act that you can think of. And as I've been listening to a lot of people talk about this, the consensus seems to be that he makes Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby look like Mother Teresa, and he's being called the Jeffrey Epstein of the music industry. So that is the level of depravity that we are dealing with when it comes to these allegations, with what's in the indictment, what's been exposed through videos of some of his sex and drug parties, not to mention the video of the brutal assault against one of his partners that came out within the last couple of years, what's been written by people with past associations with him, and even what has been written and performed by artists like Eminem and Justin Bieber. This man has been in the music industry for at least 30 years, and for most of that, he has been an icon in rap culture. And he was friends with everybody at the top level of celebrity circles. So there's no way that you can convince me that at least most of the people he was associated with did not know who this person was and what was going on behind the scenes. So that's why in my intro, I said he's been protected by Hollywood. That's just my opinion, but I just don't see any way that the majority of these people did not know that this stuff was going on. Now, just for the sake of trying to keep things simple, I'm going to refer to him as Sean or Sean Combs. That's the name most familiar to me, but he does have several, so I just don't want to go back and forth between all of them. But let's at least look at what this despicable excuse for a human being is being accused of. So in this article by the New York Post, it says Sean Diddy Combs slapped with sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy as bombshell charges unsealed in NYC court. It says the bombshell indictment against Combs, 54, was unsealed after he was arrested at the Park Hyatt, New York, in Manhattan late Monday, some 6 months after the feds raided his mansions in Los Angeles and Miami as part of the investigation into the alleged decades-long abuse. The fallen music mogul was expected to be hauled before a Manhattan federal judge later Tuesday on the 3 federal charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The 14-page indictment paints Combs as the kingpin of a criminal enterprise that allowed him to allegedly abuse, threaten, and coerce women for years to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice, the complaint says. As part of his sordid empire of sexual crimes, Combs would allegedly lure female victims and male sex workers into drugged up, often days-long sexual performances dubbed freak-offs, the indictment charges. So these things have been going on for years and years and years. He is being accused by multiple women, multiple victims of severe abuse, being coerced into heinous acts by use of drugs and alcohol, some of whom he was helping with their careers, where he directed and produced what he wanted them to do for his own sick pleasure so he could film it and just keep it away in this vault for use later, whatever that use might be. There are numerous victims that he has this kind of material on, which would make it nearly impossible for them to expose, especially when it's them against this extremely powerful and influential person who has extremely powerful and influential friends. Unfortunately, this was allowed to go on for years and years. And I say allowed because I think that as this investigation continues, we're going to find out that there were more and more people that knew that this was going on. One of those those people was Kim Porter, who was his partner and is the mother of his children. And she died in 2007 after a health battle with pneumonia, which a lot of people have questioned. But it seems as though her words and experiences with this man and the very sordid details of the vile conduct that is now coming to light confirm that he is the kind of person who would commit everything that he is being accused of, at least in my opinion. Now, 17 years after her death, and who knows how many victims later, a 60-page book called Kim's Lost Words is being published, which is said to be the diary she kept while in a relationship with Sean, released by her friends of whom she entrusted with these writings, especially should anything happen to her. She writes about discovering untold amounts of footage of Sean's recorded sexual abuse of young artists that he was managing, and while there were many shocking and grotesque things on these tapes, she was especially taken aback by the ages of some of these victims, and also discovering the involvement that she would never have guessed were being targeted by him in this way. She apparently made copies of all of it for her own protection, which says a lot about the dangerous man that she knew that she was involved with. There are several celebrities that are being talked about in relation to this situation who may or may not be specifically named in the official documents, but that we know have a verified sordid past with Sean. J-Lo, as we know, was in a relationship with this man from about 1999 to 2001, and there was the well-known nightclub shooting in 1999 that she was present for with Sean and one of his supposed proteges, a man by the name of Jamal Shine Burrows, where 3 people were shot, including one woman who was shot in the face. And Shine apparently took the fall for it and served time, even though the woman who was shot said she knew that it was not Shine who shot her. Thankfully, J-Lo was able to get out of that relationship with Sean Combs relatively unscathed, at least from what we know. But then again, when we're dealing with a man like this, is it possible for anyone who gets close to him to escape unscathed? Because it doesn't seem like he let anyone escape from him without violating or destroying them in some way. Ashton Kutcher is another name being mentioned, though I won't get too much into that one. Usher is one of the main names being talked about, as it is known that he became associated with Sean at the age of 13, and he describes being taken into custody in some way and brought to this Diddy love camp to be shown the lifestyle that this man could offer him. But the question I have is, in exchange for what?
Moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that
Yeah.
was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to something
City.
called Puffy Flavor Camp
There you go.
to learn some.
Flavor camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
camp.
was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In
to.
the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't
But
say
you
that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't necessarily understand it.
Uh-huh.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there, Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people
all
are
of
hanging
these-
around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this. I was having a good time.
Do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
That was my question. Where are your parents? What were they thinking? Like, are you kidding me? Like, what is it about some parents being so blinded by opportunity or attention or whatever it is for their child that they're essentially willing to feed them to the wolves or risk their entire well-being and safety because they're too afraid of what their kid will miss out on if they set boundaries? This is your job as a parent. It is one of your primary jobs as a parent. If you love your kid, you will set boundaries for them. Period. Like, this just makes me sick. One of the biggest names circulating in relation to this case is Justin Bieber. And from what I know, he's not been specifically named in anything, at least not that we know of, but it is known that he, too, as a young boy, was handed over at the age of like 14 or 15 to this vile and dangerous man. One of those instances was to actually spend 48 hours at one of these puffy flavor camps, just like Usher, to be introduced to this lifestyle, and probably had his innocence completely broken down before he even knew what was going on.
So, as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, it's gonna be yours. So, every time you come to LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, we'll get the front shot in.
Man.
Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah. When you get 16, you come down there. You gotta, wear your seat.
I mean, I'm 15. You could ride in the passenger seat. I got my permit.
And I'm sure that all of us are aware that this is called grooming. Diddy specifically targeted Justin Bieber and wanted to pull him into his inner circles. And you just look at this innocent, baby-faced boy who has no idea what lays ahead for him. And it is just sad to see what this is all escalated into. But apparently there is a video out there of Justin Bieber at one of these well-known parties of Sean Combs, where he appears to be under the heavy influence of something. And we've seen such a drastic change in Justin Bieber over the years, who went from being this innocent baby-faced teenage boy with so much light and so much talent to someone who is clearly battling with some very severe inner demons. And that light faded fairly quickly the more that he became immersed in celebrity culture. And I have no problem calling this celebrity culture, because how many young actors and actresses have we seen whose souls seem to have been completely destroyed by being a part of this life? Like Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears are just some of the first names that come to mind. And no, obviously they weren't involved in the rap part of things, but you can see the light completely go out in them. And they've all been left with lifelong challenges that have been nearly impossible to overcome. Thankfully, Lindsay Lohan seems to be in a much more stable place right now, but Amanda and Britney both went off the deep end years ago and never seemed to have recovered. These kids, or more accurately, their parents, are struck by this idea of the attention, the fame, the money, their kids being celebrities, and being able to live a life that most of us definitely can't dream of. And they are willing to sacrifice their kids on the altars of these elites and risk whatever harm comes of it. And maybe perhaps they think that they're going to earn enough money to buy them the best therapist possible and it's all going to be fine. But I just don't get it. There is a lot coming out in relation to this situation, and I know that we are going to find out so much more, but what I don't get is how anyone could continue to look at any of these elites with any kind of respect or admiration. I remember when I was a kid, I had celebrity crushes, and looking at the lives that these people led, just imagining what it would be like to be that happy and have such a beautiful life. These people walk the red carpet in their Ralph Lauren and Vera Wang and their perfect makeup and hair, and cameras flashing around them and everybody wanting to know them, and their lives are portrayed as glitter and rainbows, which makes the reality of what these people's lives are really like that much more disturbing. Is there really any more of a stark contrast between what Hollywood shows us at these shiny, glittering events and making us want to listen to them and to somehow value their thoughts and opinions because of who they are, and somehow have us believe that their status and their wealth means that they should be able to tell us how to think and what to believe and who to vote for, versus the dark, vile, evil truths of the things going on at the very same time that we are looking at them in awe. It is just so despicable. I have no interest in Hollywood anymore. I haven't for a long time, but nobody should be listening to these people for guidance on anything, whether it be Oprah, Taylor Swift, Mark Ruffalo, Ben Stiller, George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez. And anyone who uses these people as their primary source for their views says everything about their values and who they are as a person. As a final side note, yes, I'm aware that there are a lot of people that have had their pictures taken with Sean Combs, from Oprah to Obama to even Donald Trump. Let's just remember, it is possible to have a picture taken with someone and not be involved in their life or their goings on or their depraved behavior. But it is the job of anyone who is involved and who did know and who knew this was going on to come forward and condemn it and denounce Sean Combs' actions and denounce the very disgusting and vile reputation that surrounds Hollywood in general for protecting these predators and abusers and being more concerned about their image and the harm that they themselves are causing to innocent people. But what we're getting right now is a lot of silence, and the silence says exactly what we need to know about Hollywood and who these people really are. They protect each other. They do not care about us, about innocent kids, about hurting other people. They just don't care. And that is exactly why no one should listen to anyone who uses these people to influence our opinions. Anyway, I would love to know all of your thoughts and opinions on this case. If you would like me to continue covering it as more things come out, let me know in the comments below. Please be sure to hit that like button. Make sure that you are subscribed. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
I'm so low.